Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer. You're taking a look at the feature race on Saturday at Saratoga. It is the Grade 1 Alabama, that Philly counterpart to the crown jewel of the Saratoga meet, the Travers, that'll come up next week. And hopefully, Mike, I think that Travers is coming up a slightly more interesting race for the handicappers to dive into than this Alabama this Saturday, because only 6 fillies entered for this race. I think we're hoping for one more installment in the rematch between Counting Stars and her main rival, Always a Runner, to occur this Saturday at Saratoga. Unfortunately, the connections of Always Runner have opted for a different direction. So we're only going to get Counting Stars, who was the winner of the 2 prior races, Grade 1s at Saratoga, the Acorn, and the Coaching Club American Oak. She's going to try to make it 3 Grade 1s in a row in this Alabama. And on paper, Mike, she looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, we're not going to have a lot to talk about, I don't think, here. It's unfortunate that Always a Runner isn't going to start here. And then, add in the fact that Chad seemed like he had a pretty good backup in a filly named Directive, and she didn't make it here either. And it just feels like Counting Stars is in a position here where it's going to be hard for her to lose this race.
It really will, because as we start to go through the contenders and take a look at the PPs of the number 1 Nycon, something you'll notice in the lower right-hand portion of the screen is that Timeform US pace projector, and something about Counting Stars that is going to make her rivals really tough to upset this favorite, Mike, is that Counting Stars has a lot of early speed. She's developed it and really honed it over the course of her last several starts. And as you go through some of the alternatives in this field, including the number 1 Nycon, they just don't have a whole lot of gate speed or speed early in the race, and I'm not sure how they're going to apply that pressure to the heavy favorite. As for Nycon, she was no match for Counting Stars in the Coaching Club, was just never really involved at any point in that race, so she's going to be justifiably a long shot in this one.
Yeah, it's really hard to build any kind of a coherent case for her. She's never run a race that's going to make her competitive in here. When they did step her up in class last time, she was basically nowhere. I know she sort of was bothered on the first turn of that race and lost position, but she didn't do any running after that.
The number 2, Ati Girl, at least she's a horse that has a little bit of tactical speed. She's primarily been closer to the pace in some slower paced 9 furlong races. More recently, even 1.25 miles, she's tried 3 back. So, the distance is okay for her, Mike. I think the big question around this horse is, how good has she really gotten? Because obviously it's taken her a while to get that first victory. She broke her maiden in the 9th start of her career. She looked good doing it last time at Saratoga, but she got a very good trip, and they're taking a pretty big step up in class here, taking on the division leader.
Yeah, I think the best thing I could say about her is maybe she's one of the horses who the 1.25 miles you feel like is going to be okay for her. I don't know how good she is, and based on her last 3 races since they've gotten back to dirt with her, I'm going to say that she's probably not that good. I mean, I don't think she's certainly not a Grade 1 kind of horse, that's for sure. She was fine last time, as you mentioned, perfect trip in that race, a race 2 where she was right up close on a day where I feel like you didn't want to leave yourself with a lot of ground to make up through the stretch. And she was always in position and got the job done. She'll have to run way better than that.
The number 3 Measure, she is the other Mark Cassie trainee in this race and completes a pretty potent 1-2 punch for the Cassie barn, because she's not out of this for a minor award by any means. She finished 3rd behind her more highly regarded stablemate, Counting Stars, in the Coaching Club American Oaks last time. Some of it a surprising 3rd. She was dismissed at 26-1 that day, but she certainly outran her odds to get as close to the top 2 as she did, earning a career best 90 Beyer speed figure. And I thought she got a great trip 2 back when she was a decent 2nd in that allowance race. But I guess, Mike, based on the evidence now of her last 2 races, she's a horse that is really improving into the summer of her 3-year-old season, and also improving with added distance. So she feels like one that I would not be surprised if she hit the board once again.
Yeah, I agree. I have nothing to add to that. I agree with you. The distance has really helped her. I think you could see that from her 2-year-old campaign. And she has gotten better this year. I thought she ran fine in the Coaching Club American Oaks last time. Unfortunately for her, she was facing, I guess, arguably the 2 best 3-year-old fillies in the country. She couldn't really make a race of it there, but she made a move on the final turn and tried to get into the race. Wasn't good enough, finished a good 3rd.
If you're trying to beat this heavy favorite, Mike, you're probably trying to do it with the number 4, My Guns Loaded, because she feels like the one coming into this race with the most upside. She's now making just the 3rd start for the Chad Brown barn, 4th start of her career, but felt like a different horse debuted as a 2-year-old since she's coming back as a 3-year-old for Chad. She has really turned a corner. We'll take a look at the most recent of those victories when she took down first level allowance competition. This was going a mile out of the Wilson chute, so progressively stretching out in distance from her 7 furlong return from a layoff. And she's finished really well in both of these races, Mike, but they're still asking a lot of her to go from this allowance race now to the Grade 1 Alabama. This race didn't come up as strong as it could have, and obviously she's kind of pinch hitting for her stablemate, Always a Runner, who not only shares a trainer with Chad Brown, but also going out for the same ownership. So I get why she's in this race, but it's not going to be easy for her to take down Counting Stars.
No, it's not. I mean, but listen, you're right. I guess if you were just if you wanted to take a shot against the heavy favorite, maybe she's the one to do it with, if only because she's run 2 fast races and she's clearly a talented horse, but all the odds stacked against her here, first time around 2 turns, stretching out a 1/4 of a mile for this race, all those things and stepping way up in class. It just really works against her. She's clearly got talent. She's obviously surprised even these connections in her first start for Chad when she broke her maiden up here, but she was good that day and she was better last time.
The Stallion, Honor AP, has a pretty strong hand in this race because, of course, he is the sire of Counting Stars. That is by far his best progeny, but he's also got the number 5, AP's Girl, in here. And it does feel like these progeny of Honor AP will run all day, so you don't really worry about the distance too much, Mike. And when you watch AP's Girl run, I should say, she just is one that stays on at the end of her races. She's kind of a grinding style to her, so she feels like the 10 furlongs will work for her. She's got to run a little faster, though. I do like that she's been showing this incremental improvement along the way, and she's gotten some less than ideal trips a couple times along the way, wide in the Black-Eyed Susan 2 back. And I just thought kind of behind horses in traffic, taking a lot of kickback in the Monomai Girl last time. I think there could be another slight step forward in here, but she's going to need a bigger step forward than that if she finds herself in the winner's circle.
Yeah, I can't see her winning this race, but maybe you're right. Maybe she just outstays everybody else and gets second in here. I could see that happening. She is a horse who I did try earlier this year in a couple of those stakes races in Maryland, because I liked her 2 wins down at the fairgrounds. I thought she ran pretty well in both of those wins. I thought she was sort of, even though she's incrementally improved, I thought she was kind of disappointing in both of those races in Maryland. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe the distance will work to her advantage, though.
Obviously, the more accomplished daughter of Honor AP is the number 6 Counting Stars, who is going to be a heavy, heavy favorite in this race, and rightly so. I mean, the Kentucky Oaks, Mike, from that point on, it just feels like she has gotten better with each and every start. I mean, she was maybe slightly unlucky in the Oaks when beaten by Always a Runner. I think that's kind of been proven out since then with her Acorn and Coaching Club American Oaks performances, where the trips have worked out for her, but she's kind of made those trips happen, just putting herself forward in the pocket in the Acorn. And last time out of the Coaching Club American Oaks, they drew the rail. Irad had to make a decision whether or not to go to the front or try to take her back. He seized the bull by the horn, sent her to the lead. She seemed just fine utilizing that new running style. We'll pick the race up at the top of the stretch here. And actually, she takes a challenge from the inside. As Always a Runner, her main rival, tries to come after her up the quarter pole. Counting Stars briefly entertains that bid, but then just flicks that rival away and ends up winning pretty convincingly with a career best 100 buyer. Mike, we should mention Irad Ortiz. He's been dealing with an injury, had a foot issue earlier in this Saratoga meet. He's been out for a couple weeks. This will be the first day back where he's named on horses. I think he's only named on 2 horses this Saturday, one of which is Counting Stars. So I'm sure he wants to ride this horse, but I think we're going to play it by ear to see if he actually is able to fulfill these mounts.
Yeah, we'll see. It does seem like, I'm sure he wants to be back to ride this filly. So we'll see if he gets there. I don't know if it's going to make a big difference if somebody has to sub in just because of the field that she's facing. She's too good for these horses. That the 1.25 miles is not really supposed to be an issue for her. That pace projector is obviously a good thing for her. I mean, it seems like they were intent on making the lead from the rail last time and actually had to run a little bit to get there. They might not even have to do that here. Could probably sort of cruise to the lead first time through the stretch in this race if they want to put her there. I mean, I don't think we're telling anybody something they don't already know here. She's way the horse to beat.
She is. And I mean, Mike, you could look at that speed figure from the CCA Oaks last time and make the argument that it's a little low based on some of the other races that day. So she is just going to be awfully tough to beat if she holds her form. Let's go to our picks for this Grade 1 Alabama. And neither one of us are getting too creative here. We both got Counting Stars on top. I mean, Mike, if you're going to look at exactas or trifectas in this race, I mean, I guess you're trying to get a price underneath, but I think you're not even thinking about it from a wagering perspective at all because you've got the second choice as your second pick.
No, I wasn't thinking about this race from a wagering perspective at all. Counting Stars is a very likely winner. I do feel like My Guns Loaded is maybe the second most talented horse. I don't think she's a likely winner of this race, but I understand people who look at the race as her being maybe the main danger to her. To me, to be honest with you, David, if I was going to play exactas in here, I think Measure is a very likely horse to finish second in this race.
Yeah, if I played exotics, I'd probably try to get my guns loaded out of there because she's going to take money, and I thought had some questions to answer. I'll probably play a 6-5 because I do think that AP's girl is really going to like the 1.25 mile distance, but it's going to be an awfully tall order to try to beat the number 6 counting stars. Neither Mike or I are trying to do so. 6-5, 3-4 for me, and 6-4, 3-2 for Mike in the Grade 1 Alabama this Saturday at Saratoga. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.